Okay, I've got an idea to fix things.
What is it?
How about they start Soros for the rest of the season?
And what about Pekka?
They can play him at D since he has shown that he can score more consistently 200 feet away from the opponent's net than the big money players on this roster can.
Preds lose 2-1 in overtime to the Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois tonight. In a game that they had to have against a team below them in the standings, they don't show up and only get a point because of their goalie. There was no reason not to get 2 points in this game when you're so desperate to get back in the playoffs. And heck, at points in this game, it looks like the Preds were looking to give this game away to Chicago. Early in the first period, the Preds came out completely flat, including when Matt Duchene took a slashing call on Alexander Nylander of the Blackhawks. On that power play chance for the Blackhawks, they got 7 shots on goal, and only for the grace of Pekka Rinne did none of them go into the net. At one point in the first period, the shots on goal were 8-1 for Chicago until Nashville started generating some chances. Blackhawks would get rewarded with a penalty shot try as Brandon Saad is hooked by Philip Forsberg on a breakaway. Just think, a simple penalty shot goal there early in the first before the majority of this game is even played, and this game doesn't go to overtime. Like I said though, after the Preds got down 8-1 in shots, they did finally start generating some chances. And fortunately for them, the shots happened to be a lot more even after the first period, with the Blackhawks and Preds scoreless and the shots on goal being 12-10 for Chicago. The Preds would get the majority of chances in the second period. And finally, with just over 5 minutes left in the second period, in transition, the puck comes to Ekholm from Grimaldi, who roofs it past Corey Crawford to give the Preds a 1-0 lead. Right after that goal, as TV crews do, they find a road fan who is standing up and celebrating that goal. And there is this gentleman, and a couple seats over, there's a female Blackhawks fan flipping him the bird. Well, this Preds fan shows her the love, not hate, and he reaches out to hold her hand by that finger. In the back half of the second period, the Preds would get rewarded with back-to-back Blackhawks penalties, resulting in the Preds having a 5-on-3 for 1:13. As per usual with the Preds power play, too many times this season, they can't get a goal past Corey Crawford on either of those man advantages. If they had scored one, just one, there's no momentum for the Blackhawks to come back in this one in the third. At that time, despite not bearing more chances, I was pleased that the Preds were making that 1-goal lead stand up because the shot advantages were such in the Preds' favor. Like I said, at one point in the first, the Preds were being outshot 8-1. Well, then they would proceed to outshoot the Blackhawks 29-9, resulting in the shots on goal after 2 periods being 30-21 Preds. Preds go back to work in the third period trying to get a second goal, but just can't beat Crawford. Game remains the same score until penalties by first the Blackhawks and then the Preds result on 4-on-4 play. Near the end of the 4-on-4 play, when the Blackhawks are just about to go into their short window of a power play before the original Preds penalty ends, Forsberg takes a tripping call. This obviously would result in a 4-on-3 and it's make or break time with the Preds' 1-goal lead. Pekka Rinne with some out of his mind saves on DeBrincat for the Blackhawks, making this 1-goal lead stand up. They were so amazing on one stoppage, the refs had to call up to make sure that neither one of them went in, and yes, Pekka kept them out. Eventually, though, the Blackhawks cannot be stopped in this one. As soon after that review, it's every Preds fan's least favorite Blackhawk, Patrick Kane, who has his shot tipped in by DeBrincat, and it's 1-1. Who would have thought the league's worst power play gets a goal against the league's worst penalty kill. That goal seems to inspire the Blackhawks as they turn it on like they did during the first half of the first, but Pekka is doing his damnedest to make sure another goal doesn't go in. At this point in the hockey game, myself along with many in Preds Nation were wondering how nice it would be if one of the big name hockey players making the big money on this team would score a big goal in the clutch and get the Preds their 2 points. There are 4 players I'm thinking of. Heck, 3 of those players I named at the end of the last recap. I shouldn't have to name them again. But those 3 players, along with Ryan Johansson, are making just over $26 million this season combined and are not doing near half as much as they should be to contribute offensively to this team. Oh yeah, and then it hits me, there is one guy who could probably be clutch, who has been clutch time and time again this season to get a goal the Preds needed in the latter half of the 3rd period, but he was sick. Oh, Nick Menino, we miss you. Blackhawks get a great chance in the dying seconds of regulation to take the walk-off win, but for the grace of Pekka Rinne and then Ryan Ellis, who returned in this game, clearing it off the line, this game goes to overtime. In overtime, Roman Josi has a great chance to set up Mikael Grenlund, but Grenlund just can't get the shot off. The Preds get some chances, but eventually the Blackhawks' chances are just too much for them, and DeBrincat gets a clear-cut breakaway on Pekka Rinne, and there's only so much Rinne can do for this team when the Preds players in front of them won't do their jobs, and DeBrincat scores. Blackhawks 2, Preds 1. Too many times this season. Can I say this any louder for the folks in the back? The big money players on this team are not doing their job. If this game was earlier in the season, many in Preds Nation would be able to stomach a overtime loss to a divisional rival. But not tonight, having 23 games left in the season coming into this match. This team cannot settle for overtime and shootout losses and expect that it's going to help them back their way into a playoff spot. Tomorrow starts a stretch of 5 consecutive games inside Bridgestone Arena with Columbus tomorrow, then Ottawa, then Calgary, then Colorado, and then Edmonton. Even with the trade deadline being Monday, this is really the make or break time with these next 5 games that will tell you if this team is going to the playoffs or not. Because if you look at the standings, they are realistically still within reach of making the playoffs. Nashville is 2 points back of Calgary with 2 games in hand, and they are 3 points back of Winnipeg, also with 2 games in hand. I'd say at this point they might make the playoffs, but Poyle, come Monday at 2 Central, if you get a good offer by someone higher in the standings, comfortably in a playoff spot for somebody on this roster, I'd take it, just in case you miss come April. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching as always. Hit like if you like this video. Hit subscribe if you really like it. You can find my social media links by clicking on the channel name. And free advice for life. When given the opportunity to be big, don't do as Preds players have done this season. Be clutch!